Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. It's well known that Ripple had an opportunity to settle with the SEC. And not just individually Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple CEO, and Chris Larsen, co-founder of Ripple, but also Ripple, the company. They had an opportunity to settle, but they didn't. Why not? Well, I think we have a much better idea of why now, and I'm going to highlight that in this video. The degree to which the parameters of a settlement were not favorable to Ripple, we don't know the specifics, but you're going to get a little bit of taste of what it probably looked like. I've got comments, opinions from two lawyers. And one of them, actually, I just discovered, so I've never highlighted him on the channel before, but he went through in a fair bit of detail a similar lawsuit, which I think paints a perfect picture of what likely happened between the SEC and Ripple. Now, I do want to be clear at the outset that I do not have a legal or financial background of any kind. I am not offering legal or financial advice, and you should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. There's nothing special about me. I'm just an enthusiast all up on the internet who makes YouTube videos as a fun hobby about Ripple and XRP and crypto, but that's all that's going on here. Now, here's attorney Jesse Hines, who wrote the following. Oh, by the way, actually, I should mention this. Let's preface this a little bit here. You guys familiar with LBRY and the LBRY credit, or is it called Coin or Credit? I can't remember. It's LBC for short. It might be LBRY Credit, might be LBRY Coin. For some reason, I can't recall off the top of my head. Doesn't matter. It's a cryptocurrency that LBRY has created. LBRY, which is LBRY for short. And they're getting sued by the SEC. The SEC is claiming that they have sold their cryptocurrency as an unregistered security. They did attempt to settle. They've had talks ongoing for some time, and ultimately they weren't able to agree on a settlement. And the situation has many parallels with what's happening with the SEC versus Ripple, which is why I find this so fascinating and wanted to make a video about it. And apparently Jesse Hines found this very fascinating too, because he tweeted about this the other day. And here's what he wrote. I find it funny that the vast majority of lawyers I've seen are in agreement that the SEC versus LBRY lawsuit is an overstep. Yet there's still so much division regarding the Ripple case. They are clearly not mirror images, but the heart of the analysis is the same. Okay, so what Jesse Hines is citing there, to me, is an undeniable fact of life. And so what's going on here? I'm willing to speculate a little bit, and I've highlighted some of this on my channel. The lawyers that are not fans of Ripple and XRP, go figure, not coming to the defense of Ripple. It's an ideological stance. Even with these lawyers who are professionals, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're not coming to the defense of Ripple. The individuals that are either biased in favor of Ripple or they're just neutral, those are the ones that will talk about Ripple and say, hey, we should all be supportive of this and that. And most of them, I mean, like especially Jesse Hines, he's not afraid to say negative sounding stuff about the case with Ripple and XRP, which I appreciate because he's just being intellectually honest. Like, that's what we should desire as XRP community members. I certainly just want the truth, even if it doesn't sound good for Ripple and or XRP. So it was an interesting observation there. He also wrote this. People criticized Ripple for not taking the settlement offer from the SEC without knowing what it is, mind you. The offer to LBRY likely shows the blueprint of what the SEC offered to Ripple, patently unreasonable terms. Yeah, exactly. There's no way that this was ever going to be accepted. And so take a look at this. Now, here's attorney Gabriel Shapiro, who again, this is the attorney I've not highlighted on my channel before, just came across it, but he put together this thread which I think is rather enlightening, and I think you're going to be interested to see the facts and opinions that are covered in here. So take a look at this. An interesting response from LBRY to the SEC's lawsuit. LBRY tokens might be securities, but it's been almost 4 years since the DAO report, and there is still no viable compliance path for launching a crypto-native token, truly unjust and unfair. The context from the LBRY team shows that at least some SEC staff see LBRY tokens as being securities, and essentially all transactions in LBRY tokens as being securities transactions. The SEC's filed complaint is more narrow and focuses on capital raising LBRY sales by LBRY Inc. And here's the little screen grab, and this was written by LBRY themselves, which reads as follows. Simply put, the SEC believes that the LBRY credits... Yeah, it is credits, not coins. Okay, there we go. Simply put, the SEC believes that the LBRY credits are securities and should have been registered with the SEC prior to selling. This case is about over-regulation. The SEC is not alleging fraud and is not charging any individuals. Well, part of that, a lot of that actually sounds very similar to what's happening with Ripple and the SEC. So in this case, they're not charging individuals, and in the case of Ripple, yeah, they're going after Brad Garlinghouse and Chris Larson. But with LBRY, they're not alleging fraud, and they're also not alleging fraud with Ripple. They're just saying, hey, you did something illegal. Not fraudulent, but illegal. And then there was this, and this is also from LBRY. At times, the SEC has made representations that even tipping 25 cents worth of credits for a clever GIF is an unregistered security transaction that must be registered and tracked. However, it's unclear at this time if the SEC will continue to make this allegation in court. And so this is just a shame. You know, if there's something that's functionally useful here, you've got to provide a path forward from a regulatory perspective, or else you're just squelching innovation. And that's a huge part of what's so disgusting about all of this here. Anyway, the thread continues with attorney Gabriel Shapiro. The SEC is not helping the crypto industry figure out a way to comply with the securities laws. Recent SEC settlements have required the team to abandon the project and essentially make the token worthless. It seems LBRY was offered a similar settlement, but declined. And so here's another little screen grab written by LBRY, and this is just infuriating. Like, check out just how impossible of a situation this is. I sympathize with these people. And so here's the question. Did LBRY Inc. make an attempt to settle? Here's what LBRY said. Yes. The SEC declined to offer any terms that would have made it viable for U.S. citizens to exchange tokens or to allow LBRY Inc. to continue to operate. We were willing to give them a pound of flesh, but they were only interested in our head. So think about this. If they're treating LBRY this way, is it not reasonable to speculate that this is the same aggressiveness with which they went after Ripple? I would certainly speculate that's the case. I don't think anything's changed to this point. And so Ripple, if they complied, it would have ended them. Well, what the hell kind of path forward is that? The SEC is saying, no, you're doing this illegal, and then they don't provide an alternative, right? You see, and so check this out, to that point. Did LBRY Inc. ask how to operate legally? And here's what LBRY said. We repeatedly asked the SEC for guidance on how it would be possible to run the company legally. The SEC said that they could not tell us how to operate legally, but could only tell us that we were breaking the law. And it's just like, you read that, it's just like, it's just so infuriating. Like, this is absolutely what has happened to Ripple here. This is not reasonable. Stop it. Quit being asshats. Holy hell. Anyway, thread continues. By the way, Hester Peirce is an SEC chair. Not chair, sorry. Commissioner. Hester Peirce is an SEC commissioner, and the reason I'm mentioning that right now is because attorney Gabriel Shapiro tagged her and said, Hester Peirce seemingly remains the only SEC figure willing to go out on a limb and make actual practical proposals for how tokens can be issued in compliance with securities laws, which is great, but she can't do it alone. As I've explained before, I thought Hester Peirce were a bit too liberal vis-a-vis U.S. securities law traditions. Nevertheless, there could certainly be more conservative compliance paths outlined, and certainly many devs and others would embrace nearly any clear compliance path. The roots/aspirations of blockchain tech may be anarchic/libertarian, but many developers are just normal, well-intentioned people who enjoy the technical challenges of the space and would gladly comply with disclosure requirements, lockups, etc., if only a clear, viable path existed. Offering no viable path and continuing to sue creators was understandable at first while the SEC worked to figure out the space, but it is now inexcusable, unethical, and violates core American jurisprudential principles of predictability and economic freedom. Let me pause there. I agree with the vast majority of that portion of it, but As far as the idea of it being understandable for the SEC to sue before they had figured stuff out, I don't think that is excusable. I don't think that you regulate through enforcement when you don't have sufficient regulatory clarity, period. So I would disagree with him respectfully on that point, but I still love in a general sense what he's writing. Anyway, he continues. The early ICO settlements required the ICO team to become an SEC reporting company, not to disable the tokens and shut down. The SEC should go back to that approach with a crypto-tailored reporting regime and a sufficient decentralization safe harbor for when reporting stops. Really, this does not have to be so difficult or mysterious. Aside from the SEC, industry lobbyists also deserve some blame for trying to contort securities law into tortured rationales for total non-regulation instead of focusing on defining a practical compliance path. Even former SEC Commissioner Grunfest, who is so conservative he was saying Bitcoin is a security not long ago, seems to think the SEC's approach is flawed and harms the investors it is supposed to protect. And then he linked to this piece, which I'm not going to read through, but just highlighting what he was sharing here. This is from December 3rd, 2020, from The Block. Former SEC commissioner says Ripple lawsuit will cause multi-billion-dollar losses to innocent third parties. Well, how about that, Mr. Nostradamus? You were correct. It did cause multi-billion-dollar damages to XRP holders. So former chair Joseph Grunfest was correct. And although I'm not going to run through this, I actually have talked about this extensively in the past. It's worth highlighting a couple short quotes from Joseph Grunfest, who said, quote, "No pressing reason compels immediate enforcement action." Right, so then why did Jay Clayton just on his last full day rush out this action? Here's another quote from Joseph Grunfest. "I am aware of no instance in which the simple announcement of a commission enforcement proceeding has, absent allegations of fraud, misrepresentation, or omission, caused a multi-billion-dollar loss to innocent third parties. Creating precedent and imposing losses of this sort raises public policy concerns that would benefit from the views of an incoming administration." Well, how about that? Oh, yeah. It really, I just tell you what, it really burns my biscuits just even thinking through how terrible and unethical the SEC has behaved. But I'll just stop yapping. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Perhaps you want to have a bitch fest about it, which is well deserved. I love bitching about this stuff. Give it a try, you'll feel better. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.